The day. Remember his win a couple of weeks ago at Martinsville when afterwards Stewart said he was going to be coming after Carl Edwards for this championship over the final 3 races.
He better be worried, that's all I got to say. He isn't going to have an easy 3 weeks.
Stewart backed up those words last Sunday at Texas, winning the race with Edwards right behind him. We talk with Tony on the parade and pace laps as we get set to go racing in Phoenix.
To finally put it together for 3 in a row.
And certainly looked pretty sporty in practice in that 14 car. Our in-race reporter is Tony Stewart. Time to hook up.
Hey, Tony, Dale Jarrett at the ESPN. You have a copy?
Hi, ma'am.
Hey, buddy, thanks for talking with us today. Our first question comes from our mailbag, and Joseph in New York asks, after watching yesterday's race, does the dogleg dive bomb cause you any increased worries along with the new track surface?
No, not really. It's, there's a reason these guys made it to the Cup Series, and doesn't mean we don't make mistakes up here, but there's some guys that forced themselves into mistakes yesterday, and I don't think you'll see that quite as much today, but you'll definitely see guys taking advantage of the dogleg for sure. You'll see them cutting the corner, but everybody be paying attention.
Hey, Smoke, in my endless hours of preparation for this week, I came up with a stat here. Actually, it wasn't me, it was someone did this for me, but twice someone's won 3 straight races since you started in 1999. His name's Jimmy Johnson, and he did it in the chase. Can you do that here today?
Oh, I think so. I mean, we've been really good on Friday, both sessions, and we were good at both tests here, so I'm looking forward to it, confident we're going to have a good day.
All right, you have a great day, and we'll talk to you later on. Appreciate you talking with us. Now, Andy's going to talk to your crew chief, Darian Grubb.
All right, bud.
Darian Grubb, Andy Petrie in the booth. You got us?
Yeah, I got you.
Hey, Darian, one question here, or actually 2. Did you watch the nationwide race yesterday, and what did you learn from that you can use today to get to victory lane?
Yeah, we did watch it. We saw quite a few changes there as the track changed and rubbered up, and a lot of different strategy calls and stuff of what won the race there. So it's definitely going to change today, and track position is going to be a pretty key.
Okay, well, keep him out of trouble and make some good calls up there. Thanks for talking to us, Darian.
Thanks a lot.
All right, 1 to go.
1 to go before the start. Got 8 high-definition onboard cameras for you to enjoy the race through today. Top 7 in points are carrying cameras. The pole sitters carrying a camera. Drivers accounting for 13 Phoenix wins are carrying cameras. And, of course, the top 2 in the championship, Tony Stewart and Carl Edwards, carrying onboard looks for us today here in the Valley of the Sun. And our over-the-wall reporter is the rear tire carrier for the 7 car. It is Chris Brook from Davie, Florida. Chris, have a great day. We'll be watching. And the tools for today brought to you by Kobalt Tools. How much grip is in that outside lane is one thing you got to watch out for.
Yeah, and that's going to be very stressful on these race drivers today, especially these guys battling for the championship. Got to keep it in the groove.
Yeah, but they don't take points, so this race is over. So durability is going to be key.
The traditional distance at Phoenix, 500 kilometers, 312 laps on this mile track. A different mile track, though, than they've raced on since the Sprint Cup Series first came here in 1988. How will the new configuration, how will this race play into deciding this oh-so-close championship? We are underway with the second-to-last race of the season, green flag at Phoenix. Jamie McMurray, a little slip up into that 3rd lane in 1 and 2 on the opening start. Has recovered reasonably well.
Yeah, that's exactly what you're going to face on the outside lane as we have these restarts throughout the day. You see how far Jamie McMurray is falling back.
Edwards and Stewart falling in line, nose to tail, 6th and 7th spots.
Now, Allmendinger started off on the outside of the front rows, back to 5th.
There's for second place. Martin Truex Jr. in the 56 is through the runner-up spot behind leader Matt Kenseth.
We're seeing a lot more give and take.
Trouble.
Well, didn't get it out of my mouth.
Corner. David Reagan in the 6, Regan Smith in the 78.
I was going to say we're seeing more give and take because the track is green. Looks like that pace was
rear
ran out.
damage fairly hard.
That's a shame for both of them.
I think when I went around this track for the first time Thursday, that going into turn 3 grabbed my attention as much as anything, just because it's downhill into the corner, very fast part of the track. Easy to get loose, especially beside a car. Almost took Casey Kane out. Kind of synchronized spinning right there.
Yeah, that was very well synchronized. There's almost really 2 incidents. You see David Reagan getting loose, then Regan Smith getting loose, trying to stay off of him.
Reagan was trying to get 9th spot away from Casey Kane. Instead, Reagan and Regan wind up in a turn 3 wall, and the first caution is out today here at Phoenix.
I don't think Martin Truex is either. He's working on Matt Kenseth for the lead.
Trouble. Car in trouble off of turn number 4. 36 car. Caution is out. Jeff Bodine has gone around. And quickly we're back under the yellow flag again.
All good. Cars have been out of control all weekend, man. He just lost it underneath you.
All right, let's see what happened. Driver's 33rd on the restart.
Just lost it where the track flattens out here. Probably not a lot of grip up there in that higher side coming off of 4 right now.
Got lucky though, didn't hit anything.
Or anybody.
Speaking of lucky, David Reagan lost a lap in getting repairs made after being involved in the first caution, but he's the first car lap down at this yellow and gets the Aaron's Lucky Dog free pass. So David Reagan back on the lead lap in 42nd position. Regan Smith went to the garage after his wall contact earlier. Side by side, 6th and 7th spots.
Allmendinger hanging in tough out there on the outside.
Tony Stewart up another spot, goes by David Ruderman.
Tony Stewart's team worked really hard in race trim all during practice, and I think it's really paying off for him right now.
Edwards trying to keep Allmendinger pinned up in that outside lane. Kurt Busch 22, Paul Menard 27, kind of stacked up behind this side-by-side race. Busy hands inside that 99.
There goes Tony for second.
As Tony Stewart. Yep, moving forward. 00 Ruderman going to get by Marcus Ambrose as well. You'll see that throughout the day, where Tony Stewart and Carl Edwards run on the track as the race goes on, just to show you how close the championship really is.
And the way this is going to play out today, it's going to be ever-changing. As you slip a little bit, try to make a pass, get caught on the high side for just a minute, you might lose a spot or two.
Now, your Carl Edwards, you see Tony Stewart making these passes. It kind of
Kurt Busch. Yikes. Paul Menard there in that 27. Think there might have been a little contact. If not, it was close enough.
Yeah, it looked like maybe there's some speedy dry up there, and it looked like maybe Kurt Busch just got into that and tried to really hammer the gas and trying to make that pass on the outside.
Save of the day so far.
Yeah, you can see that car just pushing a little bit there, and he tries to make enough turn to the wheel. Just broke the back end loose. Jamie, what is he saying about this car now?
Well, he just stepped out of the groove, and you're exactly right, DJ. Kurt came on the radio and said, all this kitty litter up here, he just got a little bit loose, but he was calm, and the car seems to be okay.
All right, so Kurt has settled in line there in 9th position, Jamie, in that 22. Jimmy Johnson, 48 car, started 16th. He's up to 12th. Racing there with Brian Vickers in the 83. Man, talk about moving up early. Tony Stewart to second. Andy, you were a believer. He could make it 3 in a row.
I'll tell you, just watch how hard these guys worked in practice and how focused they were on getting this car right. And watching his lap times in practice, they were really, really consistent.
Dave Burns has Tony Stewart's pit today.
Alan, how do you think he looks so far?
Pretty good, huh?
Okay, here's what he thinks.
Feels really good so far, bud. 10-4, buddy. Fastest car out there, but 2 tenths right now.
Crew Chief Darian Grubb told me this morning that from the time the car came off the truck for practice on Friday through the 2 qualifying laps, they have been right there, feeling very confident about this 14.
Yeah, they were doing things like, moving trailing arms in the practice session. They were doing all kinds of things to get this car just exactly like he wanted it. Looks like he's there.
Yeah, and I don't know that I've seen a driver any more focused than Tony Stewart in getting this team to go fast everywhere they've been. If you don't think that winning and momentum is a big factor, that's what is driving this team and this driver right now.
So Stewart has moved up to 2nd spot after starting back in 8th. You see we've gone single file now through most of the field. Jamie McMurray in that 1 car. Remember on the very first lap we saw him get up into that 3rd lane in turns 1 and 2. He was running 6th at the time. Now the 1 car is 23rd. Dave, that's not the way they wanted to start out.
Not at all, and Jamie radioed his crew and said it seems like the air pressures are too low. DJ, maybe you can talk about what the feeling is like when you just feel like that they haven't come up to their proper pressures yet.
Yeah, especially whenever, Dave, you have a hard tire like Goodyear has brought here to go along with this new racing surface. You get those too low, then it'll get like the car is actually rolling over. And until those pressures get built up, you don't get a good feel that you've got a lot of grip with that tire. This tire has maximum grip when those air pressures are built up, so it can be a very difficult time, especially on these restarts. You see Robbie Gordon jump back in front of Montoya. See how that works out.
After Joey Logano made that little contact there, yeah, don't want that.
Got to give your teammate room.
Don't have to.
Well, you need to.
After Joey Logano made the cut across the trioval and did the slide job up in front of Robbie Gordon, then you had that jam up in traffic that almost got those 2 teammates collected with each other. Discussion before the race. Some were speculating whether NASCAR would make a yellow line out of bounds rule like they have at Daytona and Talladega. NASCAR said no, they were not going to do that. But in the drivers' meeting, race director David Hoots said to drivers, as explaining that they weren't going to make a rule about it, said, as most of you saw in yesterday's Nationwide Series race, it wasn't always a successful thing when you went down there, paraphrasing here, and asked them to maybe think twice about it.
Yeah, there's no rule. They strongly suggested that they try to stay up on the racing surface.
A couple of more teammates racing here. 43 Allmendinger, 9 Ambrose. That's 5th place.
Yeah, it looks like maybe it's taking A.J. Allmendinger's car a little bit of time, too, just like they were talking about McMurray, for the air pressures to come up. He started on the outside of the front row, got shuffled back early. Looks like he's marching back forward now.
Allmendinger moving forward a little bit, and Ambrose moving backwards. Kyle Busch moving forward. Started at the back of the field. He's up to 27th spot right now. And we were talking about that dogleg dive bomb that some people have nicknamed it after yesterday's NASCAR Nationwide Series race. Kyle Busch has been using that extra pavement as well.
I don't think there's extra speed, as you can see him get loose right there, but it is a shorter way, and you can. It's just a matter of how courteous others are going to be to you as you get down into turn 3 then. Jamie, how about this 18 right now?
And Kyle hadn't tried that line in practice, so he is searching. Car is not where it wants to be.
Is it a bad sign when the car feels like it wants to spin out every time through the tri-oval?
Yeah, I can see how that's uncomforting. That'll definitely get better throughout the race, so.
And they anticipate the car just tightening up as this race goes on. They got him a little too loose right now, but Kyle Busch back in his comfort zone, back in his race car after being parked last weekend. Alan?
And Jamie now up to 26th after the pass on Ryan Newman in that 39 car. Matt Kenseth has led every lap so far, but Tony Stewart has moved steadily up into 2nd place behind him early in the going in the Kobalt Tools 500.
So there you hear the conditions of the car that Carl is dealing with. Spotter Jason Hedleski has also reminded him on multiple occasions when he's gotten into a tight jam, be careful.
Edwards started with Tony Stewart right there with him. Now Stewart has driven away from him.
Yeah, I was going to ask Dale, you see that happening?
Oh, wait a minute. Stewart might be the new leader here.
Talk about being aggressive.
Oh, boy.
Wow.
Come up on the lap car, Jeff O'Ryan, and they're going to split him.
That was a
Stewart's going to come out with the lead.
Wow. That was a 3-wide pass on the outside.
Fast, dude. One more lap.
And Edwards' spotter's telling him to be careful. I wonder what Tony's spotter's saying.
Bob Jeffrey.
I think Bob Jeffrey said clear.
That's what he said, yeah.
And some traffic for Carl Edwards. Right side of the screen, he's racing with Marcos Ambrose for 6th position. That's Mike Bliss in the 32 car they're trying to get around. Matt Kenseth may not be done with Stewart for the lead, too.
No, I don't think that he liked the way that was done. Not that he did anything bad, not that Tony did anything wrong, but I think Matt was thinking, okay, we'll just be careful running through here. But Tony has been faster, running him down little by little.
You know, Tony's just had this different mindset in the chase. He's just going to go out there and be aggressive on restarts. And in that situation there, I did not expect him to be that aggressive.
Man, you can see right there where Tony Stewart's making his time. He got back in the throttle and drove the car off the corner, just drove away from Matt Kenseth.
And as the leaders get in traffic and work some of that to get through. You see 56-43. Truex Jr. and Allmendinger have closed in third and fourth.
Yeah, a lot of it's going to have to do today with your making time is where you catch traffic. You see Kenseth getting a little bit loose right now. He's really fighting his race car.
We're getting ready to have a competition caution. It's going to be interesting to see what all these guys do as far as strategy and how many 2-tire versus 4-tire stops we see. Lap times are holding up well, and we saw yesterday in the Nationwide race that 2 tires were just as fast as 4.
So Matt Kenseth back to second after a bold move by Tony Stewart. Just want to pay off the conversation we were just starting to get into about Edwards watching Stewart drive away from him.
You have to really be patient as the competition yellow is out now. But when you see that happening, you have to be patient. And Carl did this last week. He was able to be patient through about 3/4 of the race in Texas. Then he was able to insert himself and eventually finish right behind Tony. But it is very difficult. You have to be very patient and understanding of the situation to go through all of that. I think Carl Edwards is in that place, though.
So Stewart leading the race, 37 laps in after a bold 3-wide move around Matt Kenseth and a lap car.
I think that still has to put a ton of pressure on Carl Edwards to look at that board and see that 14 car up there.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the pit crew is getting ready to go for the first time. The AT&T Fastest Pit Crew of the Year award is determined by the winner of each race, the fastest pit time, and you, the fans, vote. Text the car number to 234-567 for your pit crew choice. Might it be Carl Edwards' team or Tony Stewart's team?
Yeah, that team's got to be feeling some pressure, too, to make a good pit stop here and try to make up some spots for Carl.
So what are we going to see? Got 33 cars on the lead lap. How many 2-tire changes? How many 4? They're about a little more than halfway through a fuel run. We'll watch carefully. Dr. Jerry Punch.
Strategy taking place on stop number 1. Left side tires only to call for the 43 car. We've seen grading on left side. They'll top it off with Sunoco fuel. No adjustments whatsoever. Left sides only. Jamie.
And Martin Truex Jr. says he's loose getting into 1. That is the main issue. Left side tires, 1 can of fuel, Dave.
Leader upper right, left side tires only. He was told not to slide him into the box. Just a slight air pressure adjustment to help him turn. Vince.
Carl Edwards, bottom of your screen, right-hand side. They're going to make a track bar adjustment to help him in 1 and 2. A 2-tire change for the 99 and a race off pit road. Looks like it might be Tony Stewart.
Longhorn Steakhouse race off the pit lane. Winning the pole, having that first pit position selection. Big deal for Matt Kenseth right there.
Paid off right there, coming off pit road. You can see just barely beats Tony Stewart off.
So Kenseth going to get the lead back from his pit crew after losing it here to Tony Stewart. 3 wide around the lap car to get to the point. Under caution for the 3rd time. Right after pit stops, these teams expecting their car, the balance to change over the course of a run too tight or the front end not turning, are starting it with the grip so that the back end is really sliding around and the conditions can kind of come to the car over the course of a run.
Yeah, the most stressful time for the driver, these restarts being double fouled, your car is extremely loose because you don't want it to go so tight that you have to use a lot of brake and possibly blow out the right front tire. So it's a handful for the drivers at the beginning of one of these runs.
It's just something they have to deal with, and then, you know, if you want to, you spend so much more time with the tires hot and built up that you have, you know, if you can get through that first few laps, it's going to be better over the long run. But sometimes you get them so loose you can't even get through the first part.
While Kenseth tries to pressure Stewart for the lead, here's Kurt Busch trying to regroup, working on Brian Vickers for a spot. That's 8th and 9th.
You can see already this racetrack has rubbered back in nicely after the rains overnight here and early this morning, so they can race side by side.
Jeff Gordon. Sorry, Dale, go ahead.
Just trying to make his way forward here. He struggled a little bit in practice on Friday, but he was the one that started this whole thing, showed him digging up the front straightaway, so it's his fault that they had to redo this whole thing.
Jeff started back in 23rd. He is trying to take 13th away from Joey Logano there. Carl Edwards going for second on Matt Kenseth.
That second groove looks like it's working pretty good.
Yeah, you just have to be careful and make sure that you don't get, especially that right front tire, outside of that groove area. Because if you do, then you lose that. You're going to lose a lot of time. And you said earlier, Andy, that you almost have to stop when you get to that point.
And there's something we just saw Kenseth do. Interesting, because a driver has to make a split-second decision behind the wheel. How much do I stay on that outside and fight for that spot, or do I cut my loss and try and cut off and get back to that inside lane and keep the guy behind me from forcing me to the outside?
And way too early to be doing that. So as an experienced driver like Matt Kenseth, he decided to drop back, and that being a teammate that's racing for the championship also. Not that Matt's not still racing for the championship.
Martin Truex Jr. was the guy pressing Kenseth a second ago. Now he's getting shuffled back.
Yeah, he made a big slip getting down into this part of the racetrack last time. He got his left sides off on the apron just as he did there, but it shot him up the racetrack and lost a couple of spots.
Back to 6th for Truex. Marcus Ambrose slid back a little in the opening run, now trying to regroup, Dave.
With a 2 right side tire change, crew chief Todd Parrott telling me this morning that track position, like everybody else, going to have to be really conscious about that. He said, I may take 2 tires all day long, but of course he doesn't think the left sides will last quite that long. But a great run so far for Marcus after a great qualifying effort.
And we saw Tony Stewart change left sides, Carl Edwards get right side. A crew chief thinking as to which one he wants to do?
Well, I'm watching really close right now to see how they perform. It looks like it's working well for Carl Edwards. I don't think his car was quite as good in that first run as it is right now, and he's the one that took right side.
Check out our Lowe's Never Stop Improving rundown of who has moved up the most in the race so far. How about Kyle Busch? Up 26 positions, and we're not even a quarter of the distance into the race.
And this team was behind the 8 ball quite a bit. They had an engine problem early on, lost the whole first practice session basically the other day.
Well, last Sunday at Texas, Tony Stewart won the race. His rival for the Sprint Cup Championship, Carl Edwards, finished second. Early in the going today at Phoenix, Stewart leads. Edwards has moved up to second.
The last owner-driver to win the championship. Tony trying to be the next one.
And behind him is the 43 car, A.J. Allmendinger, just going by the 99 of Carl Edwards to take the second spot. You know, his crew chief, Greg Irwin, told me when they were here for the open test about a month or so ago, they ran 35 consecutive laps, then came in and put on left side tires only and went back out and were even faster. That's exactly what's happened right now. Left sides only, and now A.J. Allmendinger, one of the fastest cars on the track. Vince.
Well, in that third place car, Carl Edwards, a little too tight in the center. Carl and crew chief Bob Osborne talked about a track bar adjustment on that first pit stop, decided against it at the last moment, and just went with air pressure in the right front. And Carl says, maybe they needed that track bar adjustment after all, especially if they go for a long run. A little too snug right now for the 99. Now the 17 of Matt Kenseth is currently running fourth. Remember, Kenseth started on the pole, but since that first pit stop, he's got a bit of a vibration.
Sorry, Jimmy, it's just shaking so bad I can hardly see. I don't think we're going to make it a whole run here.
Said he's going to have to wait a while and see what happens, but you can tell Kenseth not pleased with what he's got right now. Dave Burns?
Fifth place, Marcus Ambrose. They made an air pressure adjustment for a car that was loose in and tight off. Remember, Marcus went to Richard Petty Motorsports this year, uncertain of a major sponsor, saying, I felt like I needed to shake things up. I wanted to know where I stood with a new group. Well, with the win at Watkins Glen this year, he at least had a shot at the chase and now trying to make some noise before the end of the season. Jamie?
Martin Truex Jr. making a little noise of himself so far this weekend. Started 5th. Now this is the second week in a row he's been working with interim crew chief Scott Miller, who was hired just recently by Michael Waltrip Racing as the executive VP of competition. He said the biggest challenge of being back on top of the box is getting up to speed. So far, that's what they've had this weekend. Right behind him, and David Rudiman, his teammates, started the day 7th. They had an issue early, just bouncing a lot. Seemed to help it after the last stop. They made a track bar adjustment, air pressure, and took 4 tires, and the car is getting better. Behind him, Kurt Busch started 17th. Practice did not go well for this team. Said that the Dodges just felt like they were missing something. They weren't cutting the corners like they wanted them to. They worked on the car on the last stop, took right sides, only got a little track position, and he's moving forward. Dave?
So is Jamie McMurray, Jamie. After that last restart, he was 14th. He's now up to the 9th position. They made a 2-tire stop on that last run. Crew chief Bono Mania telling him, if we get you out front, they're not going to be able to stop you. McMurray now going for a position on the inside. Behind him is the 2-car of Brad Keselowski right there, using the outside of the yellow line. Yesterday, he finished 2nd in the nationwide race, cutting off the dog leg frequently. And he said it was a hard hit every time he did that. Said it felt like I was giving myself a concussion. And yet it was the way to go yesterday. We'll see if Brad utilizes that line later today. Alan?
Dave, thanks. So there's an update on your top 10. As we close in already on the 1/4 mark of today's Kobalt Tools 500 at Phoenix International Raceway, the second to last race in the chase for the NASCAR Sprint Cup. Championship contenders running 1st and 3rd.
Chase race number 9 from Phoenix International Raceway, and on this newly reconfigured track, some challenges very early on, and a challenge from the Chase contenders. You think that 99 crew of Carl Edwards is under a little bit of pressure? Tony Stewart, 3-wide pass on lap 36 for the lead, and right now, Tony Stewart is out front by nearly a second. Carl Edwards, though, not far behind. He runs in 3rd. And if you're curious about just how much that would shake up the points as they run, coming into the day, Tony Stewart had a 3-point deficit in the championship. Right now, it is 99, 4 points behind the 14 car. Like we said, as they run, all that can change a lot, obviously, in these next 235 laps. Let's take an inside look at what's happening in the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series, brought to you by Sprint. NASCAR fans voted at sprint.com/speed on the driver they wanted us to go in-car with, and Tony Stewart was the top choice. So let's go on board now via the Evo Cam and listen in.
It feels really nice right now.
10-4, buddy. The car behind you there is on the exact same strategy deal there. He's about 2/10 quicker, but you're doing awesome there.
Get closer to the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series with unlimited access to highlights, news, and more. Learn more at sprint.com/speed. Tony Stewart has won 4 races in this chase, and right now, he's out front again.
He is out front, but I will tell you one thing. He is laying the numbers on the board. He's looking like he's run this place a bunch. But this is the first time on this new track for everybody. And I will promise you one thing, Nicole. All these drivers' brains are like sponges right now. They're just trying to learn everything they possibly can. and get ready for the midpoint and end of this race, Brad.
The thing I'm amazed at with Tony Stewart is how aggressive he has been to put himself in this position. Had to make a couple of really, heart-stopping. Yeah, I tell you what, though, the guy is not letting the game come to him. He's taking it to the game. He is driving the wheels off this race car. I'm really impressed with his aggressiveness.
What'd you say about champions yesterday? They don't want to settle for second,
nope,
no matter when it is.
He wants to win the race, and Tony Stewart is putting on a show right now.
Alan?
I like that, Big Brad. Nicole and Rusty taking the game to them. Tony Stewart is indeed trying to go out and take this championship by storm. Jamie McMurray, what an adventure this race has been. He restarted 14th, right? Remember, he fell from 6th to 23rd earlier, picked his way back up to 19th by the pit stops. Strategy got him up to 14th for the restart. And now McMurray in the one has just taken 7th spot.
Yeah, I watched him after he fell back on that initial start. His lap times were about as fast as anybody's. As a matter of fact, they were the fastest quite a few laps in a row. So he's got a fast car if he can just get the track position.
Boy, the one thing today that he hasn't been able to do a lot this season, that's passing cars. You see Brad Keselowski trying to make a pass now, but Jamie McMurray moving forward.
David Ruderman, 0-0. 2 more races with Michael Waltrip Racing. Unknown plans for next season. Saw so many teams take just 2 tires on the pit stops back at lap 42. Jeff Burton, one of the teams that went for 4 fresh tires on the pit stop. Look what it did to them. Dropped them back from 12th to 20th. And he's just now made up that ground. I say just now. If this race goes green for a while,
I don't think it's going to make any difference, Alan, because I don't see that much difference in the speed of 4 tires. I mean, Tony Stewart's running lap times almost as fast as he's run all day. Doc?
Yeah, Jeff Burton has said, I understand we put 4 on, but because he was back in traffic and they were going to go ahead and put some fuel in it. But he said, right now, I cannot drive this car any freer than it is right now on entry. The team keeps telling him, hey, Jeff, you're faster than the cars you're looking at in your windshield out front. Just be patient. Jeff Burton told me in the pre-race on the stage, he is so desperate to win. He said, I know we've got a good short-run car. The key today is how we're going to hang on in the longer runs. And now he moves in on Kurt Busch.
Oh, both of them below the line there.
Kurt Busch had a little problem with Jeffrey Bodine there. He thought he was going to get a little more room down in turns 1 and 2 than that. Burton takes the spot away.
And Kurt tried for the crossover as Jeff Gordon moves in to join this fight for 10th, 11th, and 12th places.
You see right there what Jeff Burton's talking about. He can't be any freer in. You can see Kurt Busch gain on him on the entry, but Jeff Burton's car really good on exit, able to get a little distance now.
A little bit farther back, Kevin Harvick in the 29 car. Started 27th. He's running in 15th position. They're racing with Mark Martin. That 5 car started in 4th spot. As we watch Harvick get a move there on Martin. Doc?
Yeah, Kevin Harvick is very experienced at this racetrack. As you heard him say earlier in the pre-race, he's won here 7 times in NASCAR's 3 major series on the old configuration. Right now, he's very tight. And to quote Kevin, tight everywhere, guys. They told him they would free it up, but he's really tight in the middle and tied up off. Really hard to pass cars, DJ. You can't get the car to turn coming up off.
Yeah, it just slows your speed down in the center, and then you go back to the throttle, and even though you might get to it pretty hard, that slower speed that you're having to make up for makes it a difficult passing situation.
Yeah, the other thing you got to worry about is you got to use a lot of brake when your car's tight, and using a lot of brake here, we've seen beads melt, and the right front tires go down, so that could be an issue they need to worry about.
Jamie McMurray continuing to try and march to the front, going by Martin Truex Jr.
This one car is extremely fast right now. Jamie McMurray just able to pass pretty much at will. See the speed that he carries through the center of the corner. Goes up just a little bit, kind of like the old Phoenix was. Call it diamond in the corner just a little bit, but really making a lot of speed here, Dave.
Now, DJ, the only thing to keep in mind, he just radioed his crew that he's picked up a vibration. He didn't say if it was driveline related, motor related, or what. But remember, Friday in final practice, they had some motor issues. Jamie brought the car into the garage. They changed everything in the fuel delivery system and seemed to have the problem licked. But let's keep our eye on him.
Dave, thanks. I talked to crew chief Kevin Manion this morning, and he said they don't know what it was. No idea what the problem was on Friday, but the car went back out. After they went through it, it ran fine. and they were hoping for a good day today. Jeff Gordon taking a spot from Kurt Busch, 24 and 22. That's 11th place. And continuing to work some traffic, Dave Blaney, 35. Gordon hesitating there for a second, but everybody getting away okay. I was waiting for one of those accordion contact things there for a second. Tony Stewart out in front of the Kobalt Tools 500. Allmendinger, Edwards, Kenseth, and Ambrose, the top 5. Caution number 4 is out on the Kobalt Tools 500. Jeffrey Bodine had some contact with Casey Kane off of turn number 2. Has continued on around the racetrack. Here it is.
I've seen Bodine in a few tight spots here today, and he got one there he couldn't quite get out of.
Kane running in 21st at that time.
Jimmy Johnson just sliding by there.
Sorry about that. Bodine now a couple of laps down. Pit stops for the leaders. Saw mostly just 2-tire stops last time. What's it going to be this time, Doc?
Not happening this time, Alan. Dinger says I'm just a tad tight, but I'm going to go ahead and put 4 tires. Only thing clouds are moving in and the track could change. Let's go today.
Same report for the leader, just a little bit tight. Thinks that 4 tires will help him. No adjustments on leader Tony Stewart. Vince?
Carl Edwards, upper right-hand side of your screen. He says it's a little too tight in the center. They're going to make a 4-tire change and air pressure adjustment in both front tires. Matt Kenseth says the brakes are shaking and it's also a bit shovey with the nose, air pressure, track bar, and 4 tires for the 17 as well. They got to get that 17 car better if he's to hold off some of those front runners in a battle off pit road. It looks like it's Kenseth this time holding off Tony Stewart.
Same thing as last time. Kenseth earned the right to pick that first pit stall by qualifying on pole. Second consecutive pit stop. He's used it to get the lead off pit road. Oh, by the way, that crew not too shabby as well. One lap from the restart here at Phoenix. Our in-race reporter, Tony Stewart, is lined up second.
Hey, Tony, Dale Jarrett, you got it?
Man.
Looks like you got a pretty strong horse there today.
Yeah, I'm pretty happy with this mobile one off of Depot Chevy. It feels pretty good so far.
Racetrack changing much?
I don't think so. It's definitely got more rubber than what we've had in practice or testing here, but it's got wide, it's got racy, so we're having some fun.
All right, thanks for talking. Good luck.
Thanks, bud.
Free pass on this 4th caution of the race. Dave Blaney in the 35 car. The Aaron's Lucky Dog free pass. First driver a lap down. Now Blaney in 32nd place is on the lead lap. So Matt Kenseth came down the pit lane in 4th position. Now is the race leader with Tony Stewart second. Another solid stop by Carl Edwards has him lined up 3rd. Allmendinger, Keselowski, McMurray coming to the green. Last time, Stewart was able to power around Kenseth and get down in that inside lane in the lead. Doesn't quite have him yet. Now he does.
Who needs the outside lane? I mean, inside lane. He'll take the outside.
He's just so good getting back to the throttle.
Look at this behind him.
Uh-oh. Like we were going to be 3 wide getting into 1 there. Jimmy Johnson thought better of that.
48 car, just right side tires on his pit stop. Just 2-tire change there for the 48. Remember, they took 4 on the first pit stop and gave up some track position.
They were the only ones that took, actually Landon Castle took 2 also, but those were the only 2 cars that took only 2 tires.
Oh, Truex had a handful right there trying to get off the corner, going to cost him the spot.
Casey Kane a little wide in that 4 car.
See Jeff Gordon slip there. It's got him in a 3 wide situation. Well, they're 3 wide. It's just Ryan Newman's on the apron.
What was that? That was even a little farther down than we've seen most.
Short way around, made the pass. It's like Gordon trying to get back to the bottom. He got extremely loose down in this part of the racetrack last time. That's how he got in that 3 wide.
Jimmy Johnson getting shuffled back some.
shuffle back some more right here. He's awfully high right there. See what he can do. He's holding on.
Yeah, but it's loose. See the
Brian
back end
Vickers
hanging
sliding
out.
off.
Wow. Corner. Kurt Busch, Juan Pablo Montoya, 3 wide. Vickers on the outside.
Not going to work.
Montoya momentarily gives way.
It wasn't because he wanted to, I'll assure you.
That's kind of why I threw that asterisk in there with the momentarily.
Yeah.
Check out what got Jimmy Johnson shuffled around a couple laps ago.
Whoa. Yeah, you can see as he tried to go back to the throttle really hard, just the back end wasn't under him. Cracked the throttle just a little bit, cost him about 4 spots at that time.
Was 11th, went back to 15th. Working on Brian Vickers for 14th. As Vickers works on Juan Pablo Montoya for 13th.
Yeah, you see Jimmy Johnson still fighting a loose race car. Can't get off the corner. Extremely loose with these 2 tires. That makes it even more difficult when you got cars on the inside, one car right on your rear bumper. Just like a little space about this time, but got to go.
27 car, Paul Menard. 18, Kyle Busch. Casey Kane in the 4, also in the mix here. Vince?
Well, and that's 27 car, Paul Menard. It's been a bit of a struggle throughout the course of the day. Radioed in a little while ago, said he just felt like the engine was missing and then bogging down, but he believes it's more electrical than something like a valve spring, which Slugger Alabi, his crew chief, asked about. So not going very smoothly right now for the 27, and they're a little confused as to what the problem might be.
All right, Vince, thanks.
Now, watching Casey Kane here, I think we all felt that watching the practice on Friday afternoon that this was going to be one of the cars to beat. He's back in the 19th spot right now, really not going forward.
Yeah, he wasn't just fast in practice. He was fast on just about every sheet. I mean, whether it's 10 laps, 15 laps, he was one of the fastest cars consistently in practice.
May show just how different the racetrack is after race yesterday from the Nationwide Series, a K&N race here, even though they had the rain to wash that off, but it is a lot more rubber down.
I'll tell you one thing I did see. I was in the garage looking at tires because just, trying to figure out how this tire was going to wear. And the left side tires, mainly the left front on Casey Kane's car, had more graining than any other tire that I'd seen on any other car.
Why?
Well, it's probably overworking that left front. And, you say that, that's what you actually are trying to do is work the left front as much as possible. But their setup just kind of works that left front, kind of overworks it.
So in seeing that, I'm sure that Kenny Francis might have been a little concerned with that. Do they make an adjustment that may have hurt the turning of this car now?
Johnson, sorry, DJ.
Well, get back to the adjustment. I did talk to Kenny Francis, and they felt like they were going to be good. I don't think they did make any changes for that.
Yeah, 5-time champs having a lot of problems with that 48.
Hang on to it.
How about this 4, Vince?
Well, it's been real loose. In fact, you've heard it in Casey Kane's voice as he's talked to Kenny Francis. They needed some help. Went down on the track bar round, took 3 rounds out of the left rear last time, put 4 tires on it. And yes, Kenny Francis was concerned when I visited with him before the race about those left side tires. They put 4 tires on both times in their pit stops, guys. Doc?
And Jimmy Johnson just said, you heard him say a moment ago, hang on, man, we'll get you some tires. And Jimmy said, guys, it is scary, scary loose. And on top of that, I'm chattering the front tires right about there is where he said a moment ago. I'm chattering the front tires, entering it in the middle of the corner. So not a good situation for Jimmy Johnson in the 48.
Doc, thanks. Johnson back in 21st position and about to give that up to Clint Boyer in the 33. Well, Matt Kenseth started on pole. Twice on pit stops, his crew has gotten him back to the lead after he lost it under the green flag. And the times he's lost it under the green flag, it's been one guy who's taken it from him. The man who's trying to take the championship away from Carl Edwards. Tony Stewart out in front. He's no shortage of speed on the part of Tony Stewart today. Matt Kenseth, Carl Edwards, top 3. That's been the top 3 for a lot of the race in varying orders, with a couple of other people like Allmendinger mixed in and out.
Yeah, and their times have been close. They kind of all alternate with first, second, third fastest laps on the track. But Tony being the fastest and able to stay out front the majority of the time.
4 cautions in the race so far. Scott Speed, Michael McDowell, Joe Nemechek, Mike Skinner, Travis Quabble out of the race. Regan Smith still off the track after a lap 2 crash. Matt Kenseth started on pole, led early. Twice his crew's gotten him back to the lead on pit stops. Right now, Vince, he runs second.
That's right, led 40 laps in the early going, liked their car early. Since then, it's been a little bit more difficult, had a vibration. And now relating to crew chief Jimmy Fitting how the car is similar to what it was earlier this season in Loudon.
Exactly like New Hampshire. 80 laps and done. We gotta quit running these pads or something, Jimmy. I should have known better after New Hampshire. We'll get some tape off next time.
Now, talking about those brake pads, let's go to Tim Brewer in the Craftsman Tech Garage. And Tim, how does that then be affected by the pulling of the tape off the front?
Well, these pads are very, very temperature sensitive. But what Matt's talking about, when you've got a driver that goes down in the corner, jumps on the brake pedal, he can use a soft pad because he's going to get off. But if you've got a driver that actually rides the pad down in the corner, you're going to create a lot more heat. But what we're having right here is a situation, is the composition of the pad. What Matt has to do now, take a little bit of tape off, get some heat in them to make them work better. But the indicator right here, you can use the pedal, but the pedal goes away, you've got to transfer that. By transferring right here, you can shift the brake from the front of the car to the rear of the car. That's an adjustment he can make inside the car, but he's going to have to go back and research that, but you're not going to win the race here at the end without a good set of brakes. AV?
Tim, thanks. Yeah, you're carrying a lot of speed off into the corners at this Phoenix track, even though it's a mile. About 160 miles an hour into the straightaways, and you're scrubbing off 60 or so miles an hour at the end of each of these straights.
And you can't be off the gas that long. You just have to be on the brake to get it slowed down, and then you want to carry the momentum.
Well, that's the key. You know, you want to use that brake pedal. That's why you want good brakes, because the least amount of time you spend doing that, the faster you go.
Brad Keselowski, there's the scoring serial on his day. Dave?
And it's a pleasant surprise for the 2-team. Crew Chief Paul Wolf, when I talked to him this morning, was not real confident about this race car. It's the same one that they tested with, but Brad crashed. It was very loose during the test session. They put a new front clip on it, rebuilt the car basically, and when they came back this weekend, the car was very, very tight. They've adjusted on it. They've gotten it to where Brad can race with it now, and he's passed quite a few race cars today. Dr. Punch?
And back behind him, how about a great run so far from that car, the 31 of Jeff Burton. 111 races, that's how long it's been since he's been in victory lane, over 3 years ago. And Burton said, you know what? He said, this car started out very free for about 15 laps, then it got good for 15 laps, and now I'm starting to lose a nose. Major changes in the car and the racetrack, just over a 45-lap run. Dave?
Jamie McMurray's McDonald's Chevy very fast today, and as for that vibration he had before the last round of pit stops, I checked with crew chief Kevin Mannion. Bono told me that they believe the vibration was from the left side tires that they left on after the first pit stop. Had over 90 laps on them. He said we saw some graining, and we believe that extreme wear was what was causing the vibration. No mention of it since. Jamie?
And Kurt Busch is 10th as we have Regan Smith backing up on pit road right now. But Kurt Busch not happy so far in the early runnings with his race car.
I'm not talking about today's program. I'm talking about in general. I don't know how the 2-car can be 2% tighter than us on paper and still drive around this racetrack.
Get focused here and go, guys. Let's go.
10-4.
And the voice you heard at the end there was Roger Penske telling his driver to be focused. Kurt basically saying he's so tight and he doesn't understand why the 2-car is better. Kurt also said that our problems we've had week in and week out, they're magnified on this track and this new surface, Alan.
Kurt running 9th right now. Jamie, thanks. Jamie referenced Regan Smith. He has just come from the garage, made a lap, went back to pit road, and the reason he was backing up was because his crew was still running from the garage to his pit stall. And he needed to have an adjustment made on that car to meet the minimum speed and continue in the race. There's the fight for the lead. Tony Stewart, Matt Kenseth with Carl Edwards running 3rd at Phoenix. Reasonably safe to say it won't be Kevin Harvick that will be taking that championship trophy home. And Kevin illustrated of so many guys in this championship, one bad day turned the whole thing around. Remember at Talladega, Kevin was there in the hunt for the championship and got swept up in that wreck. And that's been it ever since.
That's why everybody worries about that Talladega race. Call it a wild card. It usually turns out to kills somebody's chase every year.
Yeah, I'd have to say, though, I know that one bad finish points-wise did that, but just haven't seen the speed out of this 29 car. You know, we haven't seen a lot of it all year long. I know he won 3 races early on, only leading 9 laps in getting that done, but you know, just been missing a little bit all along the way here.
29 car racing with Juan Pablo Montoya for 12th spot right now, Doc.
Yeah, Kevin told me before the race today, he said, I just want to stay in position so when the 14 and the 99 lean on each other, take each other out, I'm right there to win this championship. And right now, he's the one that has an issue. He just radioed that I've got a big-time vibration here. Kevin said the car was free early in the run, and now as the track is tightening up, it's chattering a little bit. And guys, not what you want to hear at a racetrack like this, a vibration in the front.
Can't be a comfortable thing behind the wheel.
No, that gets very uncomfortable, and you know, as you try to continue to drive hard, that's only going to get worse, and you just hope that you can get a caution and it's not you.
Yeah, we've heard quite a few drivers complaining about that vibration, and it is possibly due to those left side tires graining up and making that, you know, putting that shake in the steering wheel.
Get the caution, don't be the caution. Ryan Newman trying to get around Montoya while Montoya tries to get around the 29 of Harvick. We're on that conversation of guys who are not going to win the championship. Jimmy Johnson's run of 5 consecutive titles is going to come to an end. We remember the vicious crash he had at Charlotte Motor Speedway, wound up with a 34th place finish on that night. And for Jimmy Johnson, that took him from 4 points off the lead to 35 points off the lead, and he's not been able to recover since. What a run it's been.
It's been spectacular. Don't know that we'll ever see anything else again like it. Here's Kevin Harvick, that vibration on pit road.
Green flag stop here for Harvick, just shy of halfway, Doc.
And it's about 23 laps before they would have a scheduled stop, but he couldn't wait any longer. They're going to make a chassis adjustment. They're trying to tighten him up for early in the run. He'll put on 4 tires. You can't take a chance putting on 2 when you got a vibration like that. Left side tire. They'll top it off with Sunoco fuel. Now he's down and away. And now that we're checking, they can figure out what the vibration was. Harvick is away.
Kevin gave up 12th spot for the pit stop. We'll see where it cycles out by the time he comes back onto the racetrack and gets up to speed. Got a pretty good little race for the lead shaping up here as Tony Stewart has wound through some lap traffic. Matt Kenseth and Carl Edwards have reeled him in.
Yeah, and I predict it will be a race. If they get to Tony Stewart, I don't expect Tony to give him the lead like we would normally see in a long race. That, you know, when somebody runs you down to kind of let him go. Tony Stewart didn't do that last week at Texas, and I don't expect he'll do it here.
I think you're exactly right. Yeah, he's got his mindset on leading the most laps and getting that point on his calendar too.
Member in the NASCAR championship system, new for 2011. Lead a lap in the race, get 1 bonus point toward the championship. Lead the most laps in the race, get another bonus point, plus what you get for your finishing result in the day. Stewart after maximum points today in Phoenix, try to wrestle the championship lead away from Carl Edwards. Osborne as the run to pit road has begun, Dave.
Marcus Ambrose said, this run, my car is a little bit tighter in the center. They will make a chassis and air pressure adjustment for Ambrose. A 4 tire change. They'll get it full of Sunoco fuel. Doc?
Jeff Gordon in for a scheduled stop. Loose early, tight late in the run. 4 tires, no other adjustments. Topped it off with Sunoco fuel. Guys?
Thanks, Doc. Juan Pablo Montoya's in. Mike Bliss in. Jimmy Johnson in. Dale Earnhardt Jr. in as well. Doc?
Jimmy Johnson saying I'm really tight in the middle, from the middle off, so they're going to go ahead and make an air pressure change. 4 tires on the 5-time and defending Sprint Cup champion. Jamie.
And the 88 of Dale Earnhardt Jr. in as well. Steve Letarte told me this morning this weekend has been, quote, a disaster, and it has not been any better today. Dale Jr. is stuck in the position he's been running. They have changed everything on this car. They are legally allowed to do wedge, air pressure. They did the track bar adjustment again there. 4 tires, everything to try to help him out, and the car is not getting better.
And while we watch the pit stops left side of the screen, here's the race for the lead. Matt Kenseth under Tony Stewart.
Yeah, you can see Tony's been struggling. Matt's been able to beat him into the center of the corner. Now he's beating him off the corner.
Kenseth back to the point as we cross halfway, Jamie.
Martin Truex Jr. said he had a chatter in the right rear tire. They're taking air out of the right front, putting the wedge back in, and there's a caution on the track. Let's
Car
go back
the wall,
upstairs
turn
now.
number 1, Jamie. Jeffrey Bodine.
All right, go low.
Yeah, Yeah, that looks like the melting of the bead on the right front tire. Really solid lick in the one.
Sorry, guys.
That's one of the reasons you'd want to try to stay out as long as possible, because we've seen a lot of this week. A lot of heavy braking. You know that it's bound to happen to somebody, and when it does, you don't want to be caught having made a pit stop and be 2 laps down.
Yeah, and different than we've been seeing on some of these mile-and-a-half tracks and other tracks, where if somebody gets in, then that brings everybody in. You don't want to put yourself in that position here.
Yep, that does have all the makings of the right front being down. So to the garage for Bodine, and the yellow flag out for a 5th time. Clint Boyer had been on pit road just before the caution. All the other guys who'd made green flag pit stops going to have to stay out. Look for that wave around.
The official just barely got out of the way.
Made the audible call there when the caution came out to send him out with just the 2 tires.
Yeah, and that's nothing Clint Boyer did wrong there. He just time to go, and that was close. Glad looks like everybody's okay.
Leaders in. We start with Dr. Jerry Punch.
We'll check in with A.J. Allmendinger here. He said the car's a little bit tight on entry. When the car loads up, he said it bounces the front end and it gets tight on exit. They're going to make an air pressure change here, top it off with Sunoco fuel and an air pressure change. Let's check in with Dave.
Tony Stewart lost the lead at the corner that was hurting him the most. Tight in the center of 3 and 4. Also a little tight getting into 1. Track bar and air pressure adjustment. Vince?
It's up right side of your screen, Carl Edwards. You heard him say he liked it. They're going to make an air pressure adjustment in the front tires, a little wedge as well. Now the 17 of Matt Kenseth, add tape to the grill, 4 tires and an air pressure adjustment. Kenseth, the first one off pit lane.
Keselowski up 2 spots, Stewart down 2 in the exchange on the pit lane, and some trouble for Allmendinger. Going to kick him back to 9th position. We have a pattern here with that 17 team.
Yeah, they're pretty good.
Making maximum use of having that #1 pit stall as well. So Matt Kenseth back out in front. We're past halfway, so it's time to go NASCAR Nonstop. Today presented by Kobalt Tools. A.J. Allmendinger. And we said he lost 4 spots on the pit stops and a drop lug nut. Keselowski 2nd to 9th on the restart slip.
Brothers found their way up into the top 5 here. Kyle Busch from the very back of the pack to get himself up in the top 5. Casey Kane showing up here where we expected him to be.
And the Busch brothers race there. Carl Edwards trying to get the lead away from Matt Kenseth. It would be important. Edwards has not led a lap today for that bonus point toward the championship.
Still has it. He's going to try to make... Oh, here Matt Kenseth.
Kenseth still losing some ground. And still losing ground.
Now, once you get out of that groove, you almost just have to stop. I mean, you have no grip. If you're going to keep from hitting the wall, you almost have to stop.
Yeah, and there's buildup out there off of the asphalt that's still coming up a little bit and the tire rubber, and it takes a little bit of time to get that off of there, plus get your nerve back.
Yeah. So, Carl Edwards collects a bonus point for the championship. Matt Kenseth goes from leading Now all of a sudden back to 5th place, and Tony Stewart is running 2nd. Trouble.
Hold the brake, hold the brake.
Cole Witt cautions out.
Well, he'd done a great job. He did a great job there. I don't think he hit anything, so still doing okay. Go get 4 tires on it. Try it again.
A couple things to catch up on. Casey Mears, free pass last caution.
Put the tires on here, guys.
Guys that had stopped under the green that got caught by the yellow that took wave-arounds for the last restart. Jeff Burton, Martin Truex, Marcos Ambrose, Kevin Harvick, Juan Pablo Montoya. They took the wave-around to get back on the lead lap. Big break for them with this yellow.
Yeah, you're looking at the 31. He drove all the way up to 15.
Some more guys took a wave around to get back to 1 lap down. Jeff Gordon and others. That's a break for them. What happened here?
Oh, got a little help there.
He was out in that 3rd groove too. Then he couldn't save it.
Martin Truex Jr. Contact there. Cole Witt was 28th, a lap down. Racing here. Looking to get approval to race at Homestead next week. Looking to get approval from NASCAR to be able to run the Daytona 500 next February. Wave around cars, the only ones to come onto the pit lane. We go NASCAR Nonstop, presented by Kobalt Tools. Through the dog leg. And they made it.
Well, as they went there, they could have stopped by the hot dog stand and got a little snack.
They're giving the fans a good close-up shot down the back straightaway.
Jimmy Johnson
stretch. There's nothing straight about that.
Jimmy Johnson just scuffed the wall off turn number 4. We'll look back at that and see if we could see Matt Kenseth continuing to lose ground. Ruderman by him. Newman working on him.
Yeah, Kenseth really struggling after the green flag waved here. Been having some brake issues and could be magnified right here.
Kenseth continuing to slide, Vince.
Well, and it's a brake issue. We've heard radio from Matt throughout the course of the day talking about the brakes. Says he's got to pump the brake pedal 8 to 10 times, hoping that it will actually grab entering the turn. Really, can you imagine the tension there as he goes into that turn and hopes that it sticks and holds?
Yeah, not fun.
No, and you basically can't drive a race car like that. And sometimes just what he said, hoping it's going to grab, and you don't know where that's going to happen. We've seen a number of times him get really loose right as he got to the center of the corner.
Whoa, contact there. Brian Vickers pushing Matt Kenseth. Martinsville payback issued at Phoenix.
It sure was.
Yeah,
that's all that was.
Yeah, you can see Matt, he had his foot on the brake.
Yeah, Matt was basically going to let him get by.
Jimmy.
Because he just wasn't able to get into the corner. He was going to let Vickers have the inside, but Brian found a time that it was make sure that he remembered Martinsville.
Destroyed us, actually, so.
Matt Kenseth had been sliding back. He restarted 5th, had fallen back to 12th position. And a couple of more in that last lap by. And Brian Vickers, with whom he tangled pretty severely a couple of races ago at Martinsville. I don't think there's much question about that.
No doubt about it.
I'm about 102% sure.
Are we out of line?
Well, remember back in the race at Martinsville, really the incident that took Matt Kenseth out of contention for the NASCAR Sprint Cup title. He and Vickers had tangled. Kenseth shoved Vickers off into the corner. Then some contact on pit road and contact just after the ensuing restart. And Kenseth had a tire go down and went into the wall himself in the corner. And that finish essentially ending the 17's chance to contend for this championship. Vicker attempting retribution later in the race at Martinsville.
What the hell is he doing? He just stopped going down the backstretch.
Looks like it hurt Brian Vicker's car a little bit too.
Well, that was Brian's view of it, that Matt stopped going down the backstretch.
I'm not saying that Matt wasn't coming out of the throttle back there. He was going to give him the inside, and Brian just drove him on into the corner, though.
A lot of troubles for that 17 car. Caution out at Phoenix. We go NASCAR nonstop today, presented by Kobalt Tools. Today, Tony Stewart using the outside line on a double file restart to get the lead. Previous times from Matt Kenseth, this time from Carl Edwards.
Yeah, just so Carl knew that he could pass him on the restart too. You see Kurt Busch trying to take this third spot back from his brother, Kyle.
What a story, Kyle Busch. Remember, parked by NASCAR last weekend after the retaliation exacted under the caution in the NASCAR Camping World Truck Series race a couple of nights before. A lot of speculation this week. Would Kyle be fired? Would sponsor M&M Mars leave the team? The decision, Kyle drives this 18 car. M&M Mars will not back it for this race. And next week's season finale at Homestead, Miami, they will be back with Kyle and this team in 2012. Kyle started last in this race after an engine change. After the first lap of practice, NASCAR's one engine per weekend rule, he's driven his way now up to third spot.
Yeah, he lost that engine in the first practice and lost really every bit of that. Didn't get much time at all on the track. And then in the second one, he wasn't that good either. I mean, he really never showed the speed that we're seeing out of him right now.
What a drive for Kyle Busch today. There is Matt Kenseth behind the wall, sitting in his car, while his team works on repairing that 17 machine. A lot of damage to fix there to get him back on the racetrack.
That's looking like maybe he's going to take rear end housing and a lot of other things there.
Yeah, it's going to take trailing arms, lower control arm. You can see everything. The radiator was busted too. They got a lot of work to do.
While Brian Vickers runs in 19th position. Kyle Busch slowing down. Jamie?
Alan, you just talked about the story. They blew an engine. This is a JGR motor. They blew an engine on Friday. Kyle Busch fought his way all the way to third and just now said, I'm blowing up. I'm blowing up. The team has jumped off the pit box. He's making his way. He's trying to hang on. Under the hood. You see the smoke coming out. He says he's done.
Wow.
Yeah, not much they can do about that. He's not going to be long. He'll be sitting in the garage. See the smoke coming out. That's too bad. Had a good run going.
So while Kyle Busch continues to cycle, and we wait to see if that thing will totally give up and bring out another caution, there's the race for the lead. Tony Stewart, Carl Edwards. What's becoming just a classic fight for the championship between these two.
They just ran the fastest laps of the race last lap.
Kurt Busch running third. Brad Keselowski in the 2 running fourth. Remember we saw the Vickers Kenza tangle a minute ago. That got some radio conversation going.
Yeah, Martinsville lives in Phoenix, just so you know there, Brad, for that caution. Hey, Vickers wrecked them? Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. I don't remember who I made mad at Martinsville now. Nobody, that's a good thing.
I gotta love that.
Brad made anybody mad at Martin. He was on the bad end of a little action at the very end of the race, cost him a lot of points.
And speaking of things that have cost guys championships, right? The getting knocked out of 8th place in the last 2 laps at Martinsville, and then the pit road contact with Denny Hamlin at Texas last week that Brad said was completely his fault. Now, right behind Keselowski and racing for that spot, A.J. Allmendinger in the 43 car. A little story developing with that team, Doc.
Yeah, he takes the spot away, AB. You know, we saw a mid-race pit crew swap a year ago when the 24 crew was brought in to take over for the 48. It's happened again today, but this time it's the 6 crew of David Reagan's Ford coming up, the UPS team coming up. They're going to take over now. They will be changing tires for the rest of this race for the 43 of A.J. Allmendinger. On the previous pit stop, a dropped lug nut cost Allmendinger 4 spots, put him back in traffic, and he's had to fight his way back to the front. But from now on, here on after, it'll be the UPS crew pitting the 43 car, guys.
Now there's the difficulties on the pit stop, Doc. Look at the right rear. It cost Allmendinger the troubles on the stop. And not a happy crew chief, Greg Irwin. They've obviously got a very fast race car. He's running 4th.
They've got a great race car here today, and can't have mistakes like that and expect to have an opportunity to get that first victory for Allmendinger in the Sprint Cup Series.
And if you weren't with us earlier, David Reagan involved in an accident on the 2nd lap of the race that pretty heavily damaged his car, and Reagan now running 11 laps down in 35th place. That's why the 6 crew was available for that swap. Kyle Busch has gone to the garage. And they'll have a look and see if they can figure out what's going on. Remember that while Denny Hamlin has switched to the Toyota Racing Development engines, Kyle Busch still using the Joe Gibbs Racing engines. And they have had a few different incidences of difficulty throughout the season with that program. Kyle has gone to the hauler. We hope to hear from him in a couple of minutes. Top 2 in the championship, running 1st and 2nd, Tony Stewart and Carl Edwards. Coming up on the 2/3 mark of this race, we go NASCAR Nonstop, presented by Kobalt Tools.
Than Tony Stewart on Friday. 145 in total. And just one thing to keep in mind, that is wear on the motor. But so far, singing perfectly in the 14 car. Vince?
In the 99 of Carl Edwards, they've been pretty happy with the car, just telling Carl to be patient, that he'll catch the 14. Certainly aware of the championship situation and how many laps that Tony Stewart has led throughout the day, as you see that battle for 3rd place there on the right side of your screen. But as far as Carl Edwards, there's Allmendinger going underneath Kurt Busch. Allmendinger underneath Kurt Busch for that position. Edwards happy with the car, telling him to be patient, as you see that battle just behind him.
Well, like I said before, Vince thinks that 43 is fat. Whoa, a little wobble there.
Didn't seem to hurt him, though. Pretty good wiggle, but he just keeps on digging.
43 car's another one that did a lot of practicing. He was second with the most laps, 142 laps of practice, so paying off well.
Since Phoenix has been one of Allmendinger's better racetracks, and talked about the pit stop slips they had earlier, so we'll see how that gamble works out within the Ford camp.
I'm so impressed with Tony and how he's able to just get so focused and search around the racetrack, not afraid to venture up there where people think it's a little bit more dangerous or treacherous, but he doesn't mind it. He just gets up there and finds him something that works.
You have a race car that you know's under you, man. It really makes racing a lot more simple. That may be kind of stating the obvious, but it allows you to do more things as the track conditions change.
See, Jeff Gordon has been overtaken by the leaders. That puts the 24 car 2 laps down.
Yeah, he's struggling with something there. I don't know what's wrong with him.
Saw them in our NASCAR nonstop, cutting an extra hole in the front of that car. And while we watch this race for the lead, Matt Kenseth was involved in the fight up front a while ago. Vince, now he's behind the wall.
Well, in a major overhaul as this 17 crew continues to work on this car. They did such a great job in the pit lane today, but now a different task. Matt Kenseth, Matt, are you concerned at all or any doubt in your mind that that was in retaliation for Martinsville?
No, not at all. I mean, that's the really disappointing part, I guess, to me is, you know, you're going to have those things in racing, and, you know, when you get into people and they get back into, I mean, that's all part of it, and I understand all that, but it's a little disappointing to me that NASCAR doesn't step in, so when he's been telling everybody that, listen, for 4 weeks, he's going to wipe us out as soon as he got a chance, and then he does it. I mean, it doesn't get any more premeditated than that. You know, if you walk around and tell somebody you're going to kill him for 4 weeks and then do it, you know, it's pretty premeditated. So if you're going to penalize somebody, I think, for doing something in the heat of the moment 5 minutes after, like Kyle last week, I don't see how this would be different. But anyway, it's disappointing. I kind of expected it. It's too bad. We lost our brakes. Usually the only time you can keep up is if we're lapping them or we had no brakes like that instance. So it's just unfortunate, but we'll just move on, keep working on it, and you know, hope to have a better week next week.
Jamie Little.
And Kyle Busch is out of the hauler now. They're finished for the day. Kyle, your crew chief, Dave Rogers, told me it was human error why you guys blew up on Friday. Any indication what it was this time?
No indication this time. Just catastrophic failure. Just really, really unfortunate, too. I mean, these guys worked their butts off, you know, 2 weeks in a row, all season long. And it's just devastating, you know. But when you go through turmoil like this, all you can do is group together and pull through it and try to persevere and move on, you know. So we've got one more chance, one more opportunity next week to win a race before the year's out, to end it on a high note, and you know, look forward to next year with everything going on. But can't say enough about all these guys on this Interstate Batteries team this weekend too, you know. Just changing the engine, starting behind, coming through, not worried about qualifying, and just getting in the show all the way up to third. You know, we had a shot. We were there, and just unfortunate that we weren't able to finish the race today.
And after the week they've been through, Coach Gibbs came on the radio and said, guys, we were in the top 3. We got to keep our heads high. Alan?
Yeah, that was the 6th blown engine in the race for Joe Gibbs Racing this year, and they've actually gone to the rear for blown engines to start a race 8 times. They had a lot of problems in the motor room.
Back up to third, starting in the back, up to third for Kyle Busch today, but now he'll be in the garage at the finish of this one. Another one we sounds like is having struggles under the hood there might be Jeff Gordon. Doc, that car, am I hearing right as that car comes by, it sounds a little funny?
Well, the car actually is okay running-wise, but Jeff doesn't have any brakes, Alan, and they came in on lap 170 because the brakes were essentially gone. Tried to cut out the right front air duct in front to get air to him. Came back on lap 178, tried to do it again, and now Jeff basically says, I have very few brakes, if any at all. At the pump, I got next to nothing to slow the car down. So it's a brake issue on the 24, Alan.
Well, that's why the engine sounds different. He's not on the gas all the way.
Not running, yeah.
So Jeff Gordon continuing to fall back. Stewart and Edwards continuing to lead. We go NASCAR nonstop, presented by Kobalt Tools. And Jeff Gordon with some extended attention on that 24 car. Checking out the brake system on that Chevrolet. Pit crews having just finished their work. We check out the AT&T Fastest Pit Crew of the Year award standings. Kevin Harvick's team currently in the lead. You can help determine the standings. Vote from your AT&T phone by texting the car number to 234567 for the pit crew you think is the fastest and most valuable. Well, Tony Stewart and Carl Edwards have been slugging it out up front for the lead for a while in this race. Get shuffled back a row on the restart because of some strategy. Stewart's our in-race reporter for the day, DJ.
Hey, Tony, Dale Jarrett, got a copy?
Come in.
Well, quite a battle you and Mr. Edwards have going on there. How's your car right now?
It's pretty good. I mean, the track, I think, is getting a little bit tighter, so we're just trying to have to compensate for it a little bit here, but we've got a pretty good race car right now, so we just try to keep this track position, try to stay in the lead here.
You say compensate. We've noticed you moving up a little bit, the groove widened out, and you moved up there. Is that how you're compensating and making your car work now?
Yeah, I've been running a little bit everywhere just to make sure I know what we got and what the track's doing, so I think I got a good read on where the racetrack is as far as for whatever my car is doing right now.
All right, man. Good luck. Thanks for talking.
But
Tony Stewart running in third for the moment with his rival for the title, Carl Edwards, one spot behind him in fourth. Now, caution was brought out by Robbie Gordon. Got into the wall up in turns 3 and 4 in the 7 car. He has taken it back into the garage after some pretty significant damage.
Just in a little bit too hard. You have to wonder, might have had some...
Yeah, it looked like he may have lost his brakes.
Yeah, brake failure there getting in. Got in awfully hard. A lot of damage.
So Gordon into the garage area. Caution gave Clint Boyer the free pass, and we are getting set for a restart with one car coming back out of the garage and rejoining the field. I'm wondering if there'll be a payback for the payback for the payback.
How do you keep up with all that?
I work hard. And 89 laps to go. Fuel to the finish. Let's listen.
Hey, bud, your tires are good. Your tires are good. We are 18 laps short here right now. 18.
Probably going to stop, huh?
Yeah, we're going to have to stop. We can't save 18 laps of fuel.
All right, we'll just make it a good one.
Edwards and Tony Stewart behind Kurt Busch and Paul Menard, who changed just 2 tires on that pit stop.
That was probably the worst restart that Tony Stewart's had all day.
And Edwards clears him into third. Kurt Busch's team changed left side tires. Paul Menard's team changed right side tires. Ryan Newman, 39. Jeff Burton, 31. 7th and 8th. Burton wide.
Getting up right at that edge.
David Ruderman in the 00, and Denny Hamlin. Haven't talked much about Denny today, but he's just cracked the top 10.
The first time he's really been up in it. We saw him on the restart a couple back that he was able to make up a few spots going down to the apron in the dog leg. But it looked like he's getting his car handling a lot better. Early on, he had a handful.
Just behind them, Jimmy Johnson. Never had a chance to mention it, but 2 cautions ago, he got the free pass to get back onto the lead lap. And now Johnson is racing for 17th and 18th with Juan Pablo Montoya.
It's just been a real struggle. Whoa,
Greg
trouble.
Biffle, Brad Keselowski.
Man, nice save. Biffle did a nice job getting off of him as much as he could.
Casey Kane got shuffled back earlier in the race by taking 4 tires when a lot of the other teams took just 2 on an early pit stop, picking his way back toward the front. That is 4th and 5th positions there, Stewart and Kane.
have to check on adjustments on this 14 car, but it doesn't seem like if it was air pressure related or something that they did, it's not to Tony's liking right now.
Yeah, this is not the best run he's had. As a matter of fact, it might be one of the worst runs today for him so far. You can see him go forward. He's actually kind of falling back now.
And as far as Kane and this 4 car is concerned, they continue to be the best of the non-chasers in this closing stretch of the season. I talked with Jay Fry, general manager of the Red Bull team this morning. Any new news on the possible sale of this team? He said there are still things in the works. I don't expect anything will be done before the season ends and we get beyond Thanksgiving, but he was hopeful and very optimistic that this team will be on the track next season. He said that's why we've got Cole Witt out here in the 84 car. If we get this done, he's going to be one of the drivers involved.
There goes Edwards by Paul Menard.
That's second place.
Speaking of Cole Witt, he is in the lucky dog position right now, back in 25th, just 1 lap down.
How about this 22 car? Struggling with the handling earlier, kind of questioning where they were at on the radio. Little strategy call, little clean air.
Yeah, these are tremendous laps he's running. He's running as fast as anybody's run all day long on 2 tires.
By the way, he had moved up in the last run, so this is not like he came from nowhere.
Yeah, and it really looks like changing left side tires is really worth a lot of speed here.
So Kurt Busch out in front, 81 laps to go as we go NASCAR nonstop, presented by Kobalt Tools.
But I feel like it's a little bit of the track changing more than anything. We probably just missed an adjustment there to keep up with the track, but Tony will get a job done with second bit.
So you think you might be happy with it in a few laps?
I didn't hear you there.
You think you might be happy with it in a few laps?
I hope so. We've got to go all the way to the end here, so it'll be good shape to fuel up fuel.
It's interesting, guys. The crew chief has to not only try to make the driver happy, but also take care of what he sees the track changing.
I heard him say something right there. He said they were good to go on fuel.
Feels like it's too much out the right front.
Tony just said he feels like it may have been a little too much out of the right front there as they tried to make this car turn a little bit better. They took some air pressure out of the right front, and it's hurt Tony, the handling of the race car. Probably mostly in the center of the corner.
Didn't we hear Carl Edwards' crew chief Bob Osborne say that they were short by 18 laps? Yeah.
Tony Stewart running in 4th, Carl Edwards running in 2nd. You see the championship picture. Stewart and Edwards have been in the top 3 or 4 all race long, a lot of times in the middle section of the race, running 1st and 2nd. We look back from the leader, Kurt Busch, talked about A.J. Allmendinger running up into the top couple earlier. The change of pit crews on the pit lane, but now Allmendinger finds himself back in 9th spot.
I think maybe we are seeing this racetrack change quite a bit. Maybe even as they run on here, we see some cars that weren't running all that well now are running well, and some others like Tony, A.J. Allmendinger that seem to be struggling.
Getting up the racetrack a little bit is not going to be a good thing.
We're in trouble, man. We're in big trouble here. Tires are terrible.
That was Allmendinger a little bit ago, Doc, and he continues to slide back from 5th to 9th and maybe more.
Yeah, Alan, he had been so consistent for much of the day, and then you saw a moment ago the 31 car of Burton got up behind him, and Allmendinger basically overdrove or overcharged the corner and then the car got very, very loose, and so he basically let the 31 go, and 3 other cars went by, so he went from 7th back to about 10th spot in one turn. Now he has calmed down, basically backed off, is taking his time getting in, and you saw a moment ago, he went back by the 27 car, has now moved back up to 8th position. It wasn't a tire issue as much as it was he was driving the car so hard, and he was very, very loose. He perceived that we were in trouble because of a tire. They told him to calm down, you'll be okay, and now he's coming back.
All right, Doc, thanks. We'll talk a little more about those track conditions and what might be going on here, throwing some of these leaders off in a minute. We go NASCAR Nonstop first, presented by Kobalt Tools. Just left side tires on his last pit stop, Jamie.
That's right. What a weekend it is shaping up to be for Roger Penske. First off, yesterday, his driver Sam Hornish Jr., you see Roger Penske in the middle on the left-hand side of your screen. His driver Sam Hornish Jr., he brought over from the IndyCar Series, went to victory lane for the first time in his NASCAR career. Now here his driver is Kurt Busch, leading the race after what was a tumultuous practice. The car they felt was just missing something in the front end. It wouldn't turn, and he hasn't been a good, happy driver so far this race, but now he's saying, guys, it's taken off pretty good. The car is actually really good. Alan?
Jamie, thanks. Busch feeling the heat from Carl Edwards as Carl closes in to try and grab that lead away. Last week, it was Tony Stewart being chased to the line by Edwards. Can Edwards win this one and answer back in the championship? Time to go NASCAR Nonstop, presented by Kobalt Tools.
Championship no matter how we can get it. Now the 4-car of Casey Kane continues to make a late season charge. Kane having a great run again today. Now the car has really come to him. They fought a loose rear end much of the day, but he says he really likes it now. Crew Chief Kenny Francis told me earlier today, we'd so like to get a victory before the end of the season to thank all those guys that have busted their tail for us at Red Bull. Dave?
Tony Stewart's car has not been good on this run. Darian Grubb told us that he hoped the car would come to him. Here was Tony's report about a dozen laps after that.
Yeah, but it's just lost its stability on the first third of the corner here.
Go ahead and add some more front brake if you want to. Your builds have been to the rear here lately.
Yeah, I've already been on that.
That is exactly the loose end of the corner that Tony had predicted he did not want. He's dealing with it now. Also, they were 12 laps short on fuel, according to the crew chief telling the driver at the start of this run, but I don't believe he's gone into Super Saver mode right now. Jamie?
And his teammate Ryan Newman, the 39, the best he's been. Highest position all day long, right behind him in 5th. You know, he came in here 12th in points. He may be eliminated, but to go out on top, at least up in the top 5, would be big for this team. You saw a close-up of his car. He has over 350 pictures of Vietnam veterans in honor of Veterans Day on Friday. Doc?
And right behind him and closing quickly, the 31 car of Jeff Burton, who's gone now 111 races without a victory. Man, is he ever hungry. What a great job his young crew chief, Luke Lambert, has done today. They have changed 4 tires on every stop. Now, he talked to Jeff a moment ago and said, Jeff, we may have to roll the dice on this final stop and go 2 tires, 2 left sides only, although right now they are 17 laps short on fuel. Jamie.
This has been a good racetrack for David Brudeman, and he's proving it today. He's been running at the finish in all 8 of his starts. He started this race in 7th, his 8th top 10 start of the year. The car has been pretty good. They say on the next stop, we're either doing gas only or 2 tires. Doc?
And behind him, the 43, talk about dry spells. 151 starts as of today, and A.J. Allmendinger still looking for that very first win. He qualified on the front row now for the 3rd time in 4 races here. Said, this may be my day. Not a good set of tires this run. Been able to hang on to a top 10 spot back in 8th. But thanks after one more stop, they're about 20 laps short on fuel. Maybe that last set of tires will give them a shot at a win. Dave.
Doc, we keep talking about cars coming in during the course of the run. Marcus Ambrose, running in 9th place earlier this run, wanted to reverse the last wedge adjustment. But now, and after running really, really fast times, he's faster than the leaders in some points. So they're thinking about sticking with what they have right now in the 9 car, Vince.
In the 27 of Paul Menard, running in the 10th spot. Menard's your Brickyard 400 winner. We got a battle for the lead, though, first. That's Kurt Busch in the yellow car, holding off, or trying to hold off, the 99 of Carl Edwards. Now, that 27 car that we were talking about, Paul Menard, his crew came to town a day early, went shopping, bought sleeping bags, clothing, food, and then went through the Phoenix area, giving those items to the homeless, showing real compassion here in the Phoenix area, and they've shown some heart today on the track, battling back for some mechanical issues early on, and now running 10th. A good day for the 27, Nicole.
Back up front, it's the battle for the lead. Kurt Busch, can he hold off the championship leader in Carl Edwards? You won't miss a thing when we go nonstop, presented by Kobalt Tools.
Tires on that last pit stop, and they probably did not get it full of fuel, and that's why he ran out before a lot of these other guys have. It's real short.
Casey Kane trying to close in on Carl Edwards for the lead. We've seen already green flag pit stops from Kevin Harvick, Denny Hamlin, Martin Truex Jr., Jeff Burton, and Kurt Busch's difficulties going to be compounded by a speeding penalty. Too fast entering.
Well, he's out of fuel. The car wasn't running. His tack wasn't working. So you're just guessing at that point in time as a driver as to how fast you may need to be going.
Final pit stops. Joey Logano is in, Dave.
And the good news is that last time Joey came down pit road, he said the car was loose at the start of the run, but then perfect by the end. This looks like just 2 left side tires and fuel. He's out of here.
Pablo Montoya's in, Doc.
Juan Pablo Montoya in for what should be his final stop of the day. Down and away, final pit stop for the 42, trying to be able to maybe get a top 15 finish here at Phoenix.
When will the leaders stop? What will they do? Will we see another caution flag between now and the checkered flag? Paul Menard in for his final stop.
Carl Edwards needs to stay out here just to make sure that he doesn't get caught by a caution, because if we heard he could go till about 18 to go. Paul Menard's in, Vince.
Yes, and Carl Edwards about 7 more laps before he pits. Edwards, left side tires only and 8 gallons of gas. He says he'd like to get through the corners better, but otherwise pretty good.
Thanks, Vincent. Let's describe, at other tracks, like last week in Texas, when the first of the leaders made the move to pit road, everybody rushed in. Here, it's the opposite for Carl Edwards is preferable.
Well, because he's in a conserve mode. What can cost him the most is getting caught, making a pit stop and the caution coming out.
Plus the fact that the tires here just aren't giving up any speed.
Yeah, and not giving up any speed, and somebody could blow a tire here as we get to this. Jamie, how about the 00?
And David Bruderman making his way in. Top 10 all day. Left sides it is. Fill it up with fuel, down and away. Been good on pit road all day, Doc.
Jimmy Johnson, left side tires only. Everyone talking about the cars being a little bit tight. They said left sides would free it up. 2 lefts, and he is away. Here comes the 43 car. He said, I'm really tight. What are we going to do? They said left sides only. That'll help free it up. His final stop. Remember the UPS crew now pitting. Allmendinger, left side tires going on. About 8.5 gallons of fuel. He's away.
Casey Kane pits from second spot. Greg Biffle also in, Dave.
His biggest problem today, Alan, has been brakes, like his teammate Matt Kenseth. All day long, he's had a very fast race car, but very bad brakes. Right now, they're going to take just 2 tires for Biffle. It looks like right sides for the 16, and he'll be gone. Vince?
The Ford Casey Kane was 6th here in February. Another good run here today. A half pound out of the right rear and a round down in the right rear. He says he just needs a little bit more grip. Right sides only.
Edwards about to put Brad Keselowski a lap down. Brad lost a pile of time on pit road on his last stop. Went in 6th, came out 15th.
He's been that. He's just fought the handling of this car quite a bit. You see he's fighting hard right now to try to stay on the lead lap.
In this cycle of green flag stops, there are only 6 cars on the lead lap. Keselowski in 6th position, not having made the final stop yet. Edwards in front of Stewart by 5.5 seconds. Then Ryan Newman, Clint Boyer, Mark Martin, and Brad Keselowski. A lot of traffic between Edwards and Stewart there, 1st and 2nd. Caution were to come out now, it would greatly work to the benefit of that 14. Matt Kenseth is calling a race. Nothing more to be gained. 17 car running among the top few in the race earlier. Began to fade with brake problems, then was crashed by Brian Vickers. Here's Carl Edwards. 21 laps to go. The leader comes to pit road. What will they do? How long will it take them? And how will the exchange play out between he and Casey Kane? Here he comes, Vince.
Crew Chief Bob Osborne remind Carl Edwards 3 times, do not speed. It's going to be right side only. And again, Edwards perfectly into the box, wheels straight, as Osborne had asked him to do 2 stops before. A smooth stop so far for the 99 crew. They give him enough fuel, and off goes Carl Edwards.
Tony Stewart, now the leader. Not yet having pitted. Ryan Newman, one of the last to come in for a pit stop. And gone. That's Edwards trying to unlap himself on Tony Stewart there. You heard Stewart being called to his pit box. And this swing of pit stops is really going to favor Casey Kane when it's all done.
I'm not sure if Carl just was very conservative on that pit road speed or whether getting hung behind Brad Keselowski cost him that much time.
Yeah, well, he lost about
Fuel only, 5 gallons, the 1 in around in left rear.
fuel only here for the 14 to Tony Stewart.
Dave, here he is.
Originally, they were going to take left side tires as they did on the first pit stop of the day and then led that pile of laps. But you heard the call, just fuel to get him to the end. He skids to a stop but does not go through his pit box. It's a good thing, just a little wedge adjustment to tighten him up on that entry. That had been his handling problem.
So Stewart and Mark Martin coming off the pit lane from their final stops. There goes Edwards. And Tony rejoins. Brad Keselowski, the only one who has not made the pit stop yet in the final cycle.
You're right, Casey Kane's going to have a big lead here, and I think part of it is Edwards getting caught racing Brad Keselowski. He was about a half a second slower than what he had been. It'll be a big advantage for Casey.
There's Casey Kane in the 4. Behind Carl Edwards before the pit stop, ahead of Carl Edwards after the pit stop. There's the gap, 4 to 99. That's going to be first to second when Keselowski makes the pit stop. Casey gained about 2 seconds on that exchange.
Looks like Casey Kane might just take the lead from Brad Keselowski before he makes a pit stop.
Brad's fighting hard on that outside. He's got Jimmy Johnson there and Jamie McMurray. All of this is probably going to slow Casey down a little bit and allow Carl Edwards to get closer.
Tony Stewart running 5th at the moment. Edwards running 3rd. As we wait to see when and if Brad Keselowski will pit. Got nothing to lose now by staying out until the gas tank's just about dry and hope for a caution.
Yeah, the only chance he takes is running it out of fuel like his teammate did and not being able to refire.
And a wave out the window. Is that signaling he's going to the pits here? And there it is. So Casey Kane takes the lead as Brad Keselowski makes the move to pit road. Carl Edwards has gained a second on Casey Kane in these last few laps while the 4 was caught in some of that traffic. Dave?
And of course, Alan, he'll be one of the last to run the fast laps on fresh tires, right sides only at this point. But the big downfall was the last pit stop where they lost time on pit road and fell from 6th to 15th on that restart. Brad rejoins.
Dave, thanks.
Casey Kane getting a break there from Jimmy Johnson. Being told the leader was the 4 car. Jimmy pulls over.
Phoenix in recent years has been a place for breaking long dry spells. Ryan Newman, Carl Edwards, Jeff Gordon. Last 3 winners here, all breaking dry spells of that amount. 81 races since his last win for Casey Kane. He's leading with 11 to go.
Has what looks like to be a pretty comfortable lead, but you still have to negotiate this place. You can't make any mistakes here, and he's going to have traffic to deal with.
2 tenths quicker than he is, but let's squeeze the trigger and get up there and get him now.
Only place in this point system, the way that it works, that it's not 1 point per position, is the difference between first and second. And it would be huge for Carl Edwards to win this race to get a little more gap on Tony Stewart, a little more.
Oh yeah, they're going to go hard for this win. He's going to keep digging just as hard as he can because that's worth a lot. Those just extra points there, just a couple extra points makes a big difference right now.
And Tony Stewart actually lost a spot on the pit exchange to Jeff Burton, who's up in that 3rd spot now, having a great run here today.
Yep, there's Burton in the cat car and Stewart showing back and forth. We're at the second to last race of the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series season. An afternoon-long fight between Carl Edwards and Tony Stewart. Stewart has led the most laps on the day. 2 pit stops ago, an adjustment on his car, got the handling off just a little bit. He faded back to 4th place. Now after an exchange of stops, he's running 5th. Edwards was the leader going to the final pit stops. He lost the lead on the exchange of stops to Casey Kane. Now he's trying to run Kane down and answer back Stewart's streak of 2 straight wins as we get set for the finale next week in South Florida.
Looking at Tony Stewart's lap times, his car's better. They made an adjustment. They didn't change tires, but they did make an adjustment when they got fuel, and his car seems to have come back to life. Well, if the caution would come out, he might still be in it.
I think he would settle right now for just getting up there and maybe passing Jeff Burton and getting that 1 more point.
Tony Stewart has led 160 laps today. Right now he's 4.2 seconds back, and a caution could turn the whole thing around. Set up a short sprint to the finish, but we have not seen the yellow flag in nearly 100 laps.
See Tony there with a hand out the window, thanking Dale Earnhardt Jr., who gave him the entry into turn 3. He's gaining on Burton a little bit.
Tony Stewart said he wanted to take the championship by storm, wanted to win the last 2 races for much of the day today, in position to do that. Conditions, adjustments, whatever it is in the late going of the day have not fallen in his favor, while Carl Edwards has done just what he's done for most of this chase. Steady, solid, strong, running in the top few most all race long. Can he find a way to get to the point, take the lead away from Kasey Kahne, and gain a little extra gap on Tony Stewart?
This 4-car's been really fast. This is what we saw in practice on Friday and thought that we may see. And then when today the race started, he was back in from 15th to 20th a lot of the race, but now showing that muscle.
Remember, it was on the first pit stop when most of the leaders changed just 2 tires. Kasey Kahne's team took 4. He gave up a lot of that track position. They spent a while trying to gain it back. Kahne, crew chief Kenny Francis, leaving this team at the end of the season to go to Hendrick Motorsports. Red Bull leaving the sport. This team, all the people who work on these cars, their future in doubt. They continue to try and find a buyer for the Red Bull Racing team. And Kahne continues to show them there's something there.
Yeah, I think it just proves just what a good combination Kenny Francis and Kasey Kahne are, because they knew coming into this year that it was a one-year deal for them regardless of what happened to Red Bull. And here at the end of this thing, they're running as good as ever.
Yeah, and I think that you have to consider Kenny Francis and Kasey Kahne championship contenders when they go over to Hendrick Motorsports right from the start.
2 to go.
2 to go. 35 and 20 behind you. You still got the 16 between you and him. You're doing good. 2 to go.
Edwards not able to cut into the gap anymore. Those first few laps after the exchange of pit stops, when he knocked the second off, it's settled right there at that 1 second. Edwards trying to catch Kasey Kahne for the win. Tony Stewart getting under Jeff Burton for 1 point toward the championship on the final lap of the race.
Now Burton had been slipping a little bit. Looked like he's having a hard time with his car right in the center. Tony taking advantage of that adjustment they made to get that spot.
Edwards and Stewart going to go to the season finale. Oh, so close in the championship. Today, though, at Phoenix, it's about Kasey Kahne and Red Bull Racing scoring the win, breaking a long dry spell. Kasey Kahne wins the Kobalt Tools 500. Carl Edwards finishes second. Tony Stewart finishes third. They go to the finale separated by 3 points, 3 running positions on the racetrack. There's Jay Fry.
Guys, way to go. Thank you. Way to go, guys. Awesome job today. Thank you, Kenny.
Talked about Jay Fry, the man who's trying to find a way to find a buyer for this team. Keep it in business. Keep it going. He was pictured there a minute ago in the celebration. Kenny Francis and Kasey Kahne celebrating the win at Phoenix, Vince.
Kenny Francis, just one more race after this one before you leave the Red Bull deal and go over to Hendrick Motorsports. What's it mean to you to win this race for all those guys who worked so hard for you?
I tell you what, this is unbelievable. I couldn't be prouder of the shop, the Red Bull race team. The whole thing's just unbelievable. I mean, as hard as the guys have worked all year on all these race cars and putting them together and building us just superb equipment, I'm just so proud and so happy that we could win this for all them guys back in the shop. I mean, just every department back there, from the chassis shop to the bodies to the guys that bolt them together and paint them. And I mean, it's just unbelievable. I think this is probably the biggest win ever for me personally, and probably for Kasey.
Well said. Alan?
Biggest win ever, and it's their 11th win together. Kasey Kahne and Kenny. And Kahne providing us with our Goodyear winning moment. The big burnout on the front straightaway at Phoenix. September of '09, the last time Casey Kane went to victory lane in the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series. He's done it today at Phoenix. Used up that engine in the process of the burnout. All the victory celebration coming up after we go NASCAR Nonstop, presented by Kobalt Tools. Spectacular day at Phoenix International Raceway. Looking down on Casey Kane, who's driven into Victory Circle from Goodyear. Goodyear and NASCAR are saluting America's Armed Forces, and you can join them and give back by helping support our troops. Visit Goodyear.com/support our troops to learn more. Goodyear, the official tire of NASCAR. Casey Kane in Napa Victory Lane. Let's head down and hear from him. Vince?
Casey Kane celebrating his first win in over 2 years, ending a career-long winless streak. Been a drought, but boy, how good does it feel to be back in victory lane, Kenny?
It feels so good. It's been a long time coming. This whole Red Bull team's done an unbelievable job to keep working so hard. Kenny Francis, Keith Rodden, everybody at Red Bull, the car, the Toyota engine. I mean, it was a great run today. The guys did an awesome job. We fell back a little bit early, and then came back and just kept getting it better. So these guys haven't given up in the last, 3 months. So it's been really cool. I want to thank Sprint. All the fans were coming out. The track was really cool. It was slippery early, but as the tires built heat and we got rubber on the track, the Goodyear tires came in pretty good, and it ended up being a great race. I'm really excited.
You guys have had so much success here down the stretch. What's been the key to the resurgence of this team?
Well, I think just not giving up. I think the one big thing is working with Kenny Francis. That guy, as hard as he works, I want to work as hard, and I want to do as much as I can to be up front. I know Keith's the same way, and all these Red Bull guys are behind him. So it's been really exciting to do that. I want to also say this for my grandma. We lost my great-grandpa last week, and this is for her and my mom. So it feels good to win, for sure. He was a huge fan, huge supporter.
Congratulations. Alan?
Casey Kane emotional in victory lane, and Casey talked about not giving up. All of those guys don't know if they've got a job in 2 weeks' time, but they're still working and turning out race-winning race cars.
Yeah, it says a lot about them. It says a lot about the leadership over